We were discussing about the way to encapsulate data. I told you about different layers where your data will exist. So there is the business layer that we try to model to those 6 SDs, where of course we model our capabilities and the entity models that we are expecting to receive. There is then the application layer where you need to create the XMLs with your data, or you will receive XMLs with the data if you request some data, if you are allowed to request some data from Udemy services. I told you that your data should put all together into a messaging and transport layer that it's still at the level of Udemy Data Exchange, that is the service model. This format will allow you to tell us which is the service that you want to access, where you want to be notified, but we will enter in details later on. And of course, all this data will be third layer encapsulated when you submit to the eDelivery, because eDelivery send the data in an AS4 HTTPS protocol secure with the certificates, but those details will come out afterwards. Then my aim is to present you and make you very clear what is the entity model and how you shape the entity model in the service model. Then the AS4 data encapsulation is something that it's trivial, and it will be presented by our colleagues, because AS4 data should be completely transparent on the service and entity model that you submit. This is one of the most wanted details in Data Exchange, is the XSDs through which we model the data. There are many XSDs, and there are some XSDs that cover the model of the entity models, like devices, actors, actor registration. There are also some common entities that can be accessed to. So basically, there is a complex structure of data if you want to read to the XSDs. Those XSDs are generated from our modeling engine, but of course, they are created by us in a very specific way. And in order to see the details in an XSD, you can go to a specific XSD. So if you want to have insights on how we represent an IVDR basic UDI, you go in device data directory, and there is the XSD that can show you what are the data and the classes and the structures that you need to create in order to have compliant basic IVDR basic UDI data, for example. In the left page, I try to create the packages in order to see better the correspondence, but it's one-to-one. So the packages are one-to-one with what you will receive, of course, in the XSD zip. So this is the main deliverable that will provide it to you, the XSD structure, where you have the entities and also the XSDs for service. Into those package, there are some red XSDs. Those XSDs are the entry point for the main entities that you want to create. So, for example, if you want to validate or to model a device data, you can validate your XML against the di.xsd. That will do the link with the actual implementation of our model. Those XSDs will be versioned, but we will have a specific policy of versioning. There will be 6 months announced, so it will be a 6 months delay when we change a model, and that will allow you to adjust easily your backends in order to be compliant with the other with the new XSD versions. For the moment, they are still in a draft. Maybe you know that our business unit have still very small changes, but probably more than 90% are stable. The models have been already communicated, I think 2 weeks ago, the data dictionary. And in the data dictionary, there are the 2 last columns that make a reference with the data in Data Exchange XSD. So those 2 columns, you will find the data in our model that you will receive when we publish the XSDs. So the XSDs will be in a zip file. You enter there will be this kind of structure. If you want to consult a specific XSD, we advise you to open with a dedicated XSD XML reader, XML Spy, I don't know, or other free tools, in order to be easier for you to understand. Each field, or majority of the fields in the XSD, are also described, so they have a description, which is for the moment the same as the description that you have in the data dictionary. Also, for each field that we are using and has a correspondence in data dictionary, you have the reference in the data dictionary field. So you can also track the update descriptions or the updates on other properties in this data dictionary, looking into XSD. So each field, you'll find the correspondence in the data dictionary. Now I want to present you some ways to better understand the XSDs, because of course, looking into an XSD can be very difficult to understand the big picture. In the documents that we'll provide some diagrams, UML diagrams, that are used to generate those XSDs. So normally those diagrams are one-to-one with the XSDs that you will receive. It's not very important now to go through all those diagrams, but I want to make sure that you are aware that this is, at least for me, a very easy way to understand what you need to provide in which object, if you want. And of course, this is only an example of a class where you can see there are some the main class that you are subject of data exchange. For example, the actor, mandates, UDI/DI, basic UDI, SSCP, market info, for example, that are related to UDI. And of course, those are extending a superclass that it's an entity that provides you the versioning element. So with those entities, you also can get the versioning when you, for example, try to download. You'll have some state and version dates of entities. And of course, each of the package that I presented to you early on has one or many diagrams that will help you to understand the structure of the entity itself. We'll go, for example, actor or in a device. Maybe the device is better because it's more interested for you. So here is the actor model in this way to represent the XSDs. We have actor registration model as well. And we have, for example, basic UDI. You see, there is a very big model. So maybe it's not even very clear. I can zoom. Okay. So for example, a basic UDI data, it's composed in the 3 main parts, which are blue or marked here, is the IVDR basic UDI, MDR basic UDI, and SPP basic UDI. So for each type of the device, basic UDI, you might have specific attributes you might have specific organization of other elements, different connections. So we tried to implement a lot of business rules inside the model itself. That makes the model more verbose and more complex, but on the other side, it's a model that tries to limit your choices in order to submit some data. So once you want to send an MDR basic UDI, you need to specify, for example, applicable legislation that you can use only a specific set of legislation, and then you can provide manufacturer, authorized representative, but also you can specify some device data which are particular to this basic UDI, like it's an active, administrating medicine, to be implantable exceptions, if it's implantable, and so on. And also you can have some device data that are specific only to MDR basic UDI, so human product check, medicinal product check, and so on. So this is an example where the attributes, if you get used to understand and to work with the UML, you can easily understand what is the data that you need for a specific type of devices in this case. So once you start creating in your XML, creating an MDR basic UDI, you will be forced in the validation process to use the correct elements and to use the correct naming for your tags. So in this way, we will help you, because this can be more clear in when you compose the data, but also help the entire process, because the chances to submit a valid data to EUDAMED are much increased, because there are a lot of business rules that are already implemented in the model. Not all, I repeat, not all the business rules, but a lot of them we try to model into our XSDs.